Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. I was going to do this video yesterday, but then we got the breaking news on the release of pretty much Gary Gygax's IP, what the Troll Lords are going to be doing with it. So I figured, which way to go? I went with that one. But this is still interesting. This is still newsworthy. By the way, I'm still in the Poconos. That was the game plan. It's a good thing I didn't go home today or try to. New York City is half flooded. I will have to evaluate whether we're going home tomorrow or not when we see how what roads are open. But I digress. Also, at the bottom of the screen, there's a link. 10 cars. There's tavern.game/cyber. It'll take you to the Cyberpunk sale over on DriveThru with different Cyberpunk releases and games, including pretty much the classic, you know, Cyberpunk from R. Talsorian Games. I think it is Cyberpunk Red. So go over there, check out what they have. Your purchases help the tavern. It's an affiliate link. What does that mean? It means if you make a purchase, percentage goes into the tavern's coffers. Allows us to get material for reviews, for playtests, equipment for my co-hosts. It keeps us in the black. But let's go on to today's article. Evil Genius Games sues Netflix over canceled Rebel Moon TTRPG. Now, Zack Snyder's rejected Star Wars film, which has turned into a Netflix franchise, was supposed to have a massive RPG release ahead of its premiere. Today, tabletop role playing game publisher Evil Genius filed a lawsuit against Netflix for breach of contract. Evil Genius was hired to create a franchise RPG for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon and alleged that after working alongside Netflix and Snyder, Netflix unceremoniously terminated its contract. The lawsuit details the amount of work that Evil Genius did for Netflix, which has included 3 books in support of a planned Rebel Moon RPG. Evil Genius is one of the few tabletop game design companies that has raised money via venture capitalist funding. That's interesting because it means that they must make a profit. That is their goal, and this was probably one of the things that they thought was an easy moneymaker. So, Schneider praised the RPG adaptation of his upcoming sci-fi movie series 6 months ago on the Nerd Queen's stream. Schneider said he was having a really good time with the RPG and the development was at a ridiculous scale. He also describes the tabletop RPG that Evil Games was working on at the time as immersive and intense. According to David Scott, the founder and design team lead at Evil Genius, who spoke to IO9 via email, Schneider was in frequent contact with the design team, and there were daily interactions with members of Schneider's team. At the time of the alleged breach of contract in May of 2023, the complaint asserts that the RPG was nearly done, and the 2 sellable products, a 430-page player's guide and a 337-page game master's guide, these are sizable books, were in the final editing stages. There was also a massive internal document produced, a Rebel Moon World Bible, detailing original details about the setting and characters of Rebel Moon, which was being used as a reference for Evil Genius during the development of the RPG. Because Netflix wanted to release the RPG just before the release of the film in December, Evil Genius alleged that it lost opportunities due to prioritizing the Rebel Moon project. In other words, a lot of times when there's an RPG, it comes out after the franchise launches. They wanted this to precede the launch, probably by a mere weeks. The timing is going to be important. So, Evil Genius is well known for its franchise games, including officially licensed tabletop RPGs, And I'm just saying tabletop this time to differentiate between tabletop and computer. Rambo, Kong, The Crow, Escape from New York, all using Evil Genius's Everyday Hero system. Netflix terminated the agreement with Evil Genius based on the claim that Evil Genius breached confidentiality provisions. Now, and this is where it gets interesting, because this is where I believe Evil Genius is saying, well, these are possibilities, and one of these possibilities could, if it is this one, well, we're not at fault because Netflix is part of it. So I can pretty much guarantee you that's not the one that Netflix is using for the breach of contract. There are two instances where the breach could have occurred. According to the complaint, the first instance occurred when Evil Genius Games, alongside two Netflix employees, which already is telling you this is not the issue, distributed images during a February trade show as part of a retailer buzz campaign. The second time was when Evil Genius Games uploaded two non-final teaser cover images onto the back end of its site for the purposes of retailer pre-order and through administrative error. So this is basically somebody fucked up, accidentally made the portable accessible to the public. These two non-file images were uploaded to social media in May, and it was after this that Netflix terminated its agreement with Evil Genius Games. So you know the first instance is not where Netflix had an issue. It is where Evil Genius Games, on its own, fucked up. And it was an administrative error. It was an accident. This is the issue. It was after this that Netflix terminated the agreement with Evil Genius Games. So Netflix is not saying it could be one of these two reasons. No, I think even Evil Genius Games should be like, well, no, no. You see, Netflix allowed us to share images because they were with us. So if that's the reason, then, but that's not the reason. It's you fucked up. That's the reason. Then, according to the complaint in June, Netflix sent along another message to Evil Genius saying that the World Bible, which includes significant chunks of world building and development that greatly expands the Rebel Moon universe far beyond the script, belongs solely and exclusively to Netflix. Netflix allegedly offered Evil Genius $50,000 for this property, but an agreement was not met. Evil Genius wants to release the game and receive compensation for its work. When you're dealing with licenses, there's a lot of restrictions. Um, I'm not giving you any inside baseball that nobody that follows RPGs doesn't already understand. Licenses carry a lot of weight. There's a lot of positives if you are a publisher because you have a built-in audience beyond RPGs for your work, but you got to abide by usually a very onerous contract. And this contract seems fairly onerous, and it appears that I don't know. This should never have been uploaded in the first place, not even to retailers, probably. But somebody wanted to get ahead of the game and they fucked up. Or they did it on purpose and are claiming they fucked up. We're not there. We don't know. Scott clarified via email that the preferred money would not cover the expenses incurred developing the game, and that Evil Genius had been confident they would have sold millions of dollars worth of game products. Additionally, the work it did on the internal World Bible exceeded the scope of the license, and the money offered would not accurately compensate us for the contribution we made to the Rebel Moon universe. Our aim is to ensure our team is recognized for their fantastic work and that we can release this game for millions of tabletop RPG enthusiasts to enjoy, Scott said via press release. It's disheartening to see Netflix backpedal on content that was jointly showcased. Again, they're trying to claim that the reason why this joint showcasing No, it's when you guys fucked up uploading images that you weren't allowed to upload. Again, they're trying to say, and we received their prior consent. You didn't have prior consent for the action that appears to be the one that got your contract canceled. We urge our supporters to contact Netflix and Zack Snyder to push for the release of this game. Uh, Another twist to the story, according to the complaint, Mr. Snyder and multiple Netflix executives routinely praised the Evil Genius work and were so enamored with the 228-page World Bible that he indicated that he planned on incorporating substantial elements of it into a so-called Snyderverse. Rebel Moon is already greenlit for a sequel, Scargiver, and even more recently, Zack Snyder went on stage at Gamescom and announced that a co-op video game within the Rebel Moon universe would be developed by Super Evil Megacorp. Oh, gee. And released exclusively on Netflix's game streaming service, which I had never even heard of. So that's something I got to check out. IO9 has reached out to Netflix for comment on the suit, and we'll update the story if we hear more. Folks, again, if you are a publisher and you're thinking of dealing with a licensee or a licensor, you're going to be dealing with somebody else's IP and trademark. There will be conditions that you are going to be held to. Understand them, follow them. If this is what you want to do. But if you don't follow them, don't be surprised if it bites you in the ass. Folks, tomorrow is Gamers Health. Whether we're here in the Poconos or whether we're home in New York, 8 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern Time, Gamers Health. Rach and I have a lot to discuss. Hope to see you then. Otherwise, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll the dice, roll them well. Tomorrow. All right, folks. Good night.